So the first thing is that Forrest Gump displays leadership throughout the movie in several different ways. So the first example is when he ran back into Napalm Fire in order to save Bubba, but he ended up saving Lieutenant Dan as well as several other soldiers before finding out that Bubba would not be able to make it home because he's in too bad a shape. The second example is that he assumed responsibility immediately when he found out that Jenny had a child and that it was his. So he gave the child someone to look up to without any questions asked. Forrest does not intend to lead, but his actions just like he acts as a leader, even if it's not on purpose. And the last example is when Forrest runs across the United States. It also encouraged other people to follow along for his journey, whether it be on television or whether it be people following him on foot. So the first leadership quality that Forrest Gump displays is the leadership quality of love. And along with accountability, this may be the trait that Forrest displayed the most throughout the movie. The entire movie was based around Forrest and his love for Jenny, and Forrest, for the most part, devoted his life and everything that he did for Jenny and whatever made her happiest. Forrest also loved his mother, but when she passed, then the only thing that he had to love and care for was Jenny until their child was born and Jenny passed away. One thing that stood out the most was when Jenny told Forrest that she wished she could have been with him as he ran across the United States, and Forrest said that she was there with him, which means that Forrest was thinking about her the entire time, and that just demonstrates Forrest's love for her. So the video that we chose to include is the scene from the end of Forrest Gump where Jenny is on her deathbed and Forrest is caring for her. And throughout this entire scene, Forrest displays several leadership qualities, including empathy, love, and accountability. So first, Forrest displays empathy because he was caring for Jenny and he understands the current condition that she's in and that she might not make it much longer. And the second quality is that Forrest displays love because, similar to the last slide, he explains that she was with him the entire time while he ran across the United States and that she was always on his mind for the most part. And the last leadership quality that Forrest demonstrates is accountability because time after time, although Jenny went through several party phases through her life and she wasn't always there for Forrest, Forrest always remained there for her in her times of need, and especially when in this time when she's close to passing away, Forrest is there for her and just wants to make sure she's comfortable and happy.
Sometimes it would stop raining long enough for the stars to come out, and then it was nice. It was like just before the sun goes to bed down on the bayou. Those over a million sparkles on the water. Like that mountain lake that was so clear, Jenny. It looked like there were two skies, one on top of the other. And then in the desert, when the sun comes up, I couldn't tell where heaven stopped and the earth began. It was so beautiful.
I wish I could have been there with you.
You were.
I love you.
You died on a Saturday morning. I had you placed here under our tree. And I had that house of your father bulldozed to the ground. Mama always said dying was a part of life. I sure wish it wasn't. Little Forrest is doing just fine.
But
About to start school again soon. I make his breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day. I make sure he combs his hair, and brushes his teeth every day. Teaching him how to play ping pong. Okay. He's really good. Forrest, you go. We fish a lot. And every night we read a book. She's so smart, Jenny. You'd be so proud of him. I am. He wrote you a letter. And he says, I can't read it. Not supposed to, so I just leave it here for you. Jenny, I don't know if Mama was right or if it's Lieutenant Dan. I don't know if we each have a destiny or if we're all just floating around accidental like on a breeze. But I think maybe it's both. Maybe both is happening at the same time. I miss you, Jenny. If there's anything you need, I won't be far away.
Okay, so for one of the next big characteristics that was shown in the movie by Forrest was accountability. And it goes without saying that accountability is one of the most essential characteristics you can have in almost just about anything you do in life, because without accountability, things won't get done, and people need to be able to hold each other accountable. And one way that this was shown in the movie was Forrest and Jenny's relationship. Jenny kind of turned away from him, and Forrest was obviously very upset about that, but she was going through a lot of different things in her life, and Forrest stayed true to her because he really did have a lot of love for her. And that kind of leads into the next bullet point, that Jenny was not a very great friend to him, kind of leaving him in the dust. But Forrest stayed true to her and stayed true to his feelings, and in the end of the movie, it was apparent, and throughout the whole movie, it was apparent how much that Forrest really did care for Jenny. Okay, so for the next topic, it's empathy, and empathy is a it shows itself a lot in the movie. There's a lot of good examples about it. But it's important to know what empathy is, which I'm sure a lot of us do know what it is. But just to make sure, it's the ability to relate with someone and connect with their feelings. And Forrest goes through a lot in the movie. He has a disability, of course. He goes into the war and loses one of his best friends. He has a kind of a tough relationship with Jenny. I mean, obviously he loves her a lot, but it was definitely not smooth sailing the whole movie. He becomes a really good ping pong player, football player. He does that big cross country marathon towards the end, and all those experiences allow him to relate to as many people as he can. And also, it does seem like Forrest has heightened emotions throughout the film. He really is in tune with them. He feels a lot, if you know what I mean. And also, kind of a broad spectrum thing. Forrest, the character Forrest, is kind of made out to be a common man, kind of like every one of us. Kind of, he's, not very rich. He's a common man. He goes through a lot of the same things that everyone goes through, which makes him not just relatable in the movie, but relatable to the viewers as well. Okay, so moving on to the next characteristic in the movie. This one may be a little bit harder to, seek out and pick out than empathy or even accountability, but that's curiosity. And everyone's obviously, they're curious about something, but Forrest seems to be a very deep and wild thinker. He doesn't seem to have a lot of the similar thoughts that most people do, and it really is apparent when he's at Jenny's gravesite, and he talks about, if each person actually has their own destiny, or if, we're all just kind of here wandering in space, which, that takes a lot of thinking to come up with that. And another one of the aspects that shows his curiosity is everything he does in the movie. Kind of going back to last slide, he's a football player. He was in the Army. He did a lot, and I think that really does show and prove his curiosities, that he wasn't content with just being one thing, And also, like, this kind of leads into the next bullet point, is he always seems like he's looking for the next opportunity. He isn't content with just doing nothing. He wants to be doing something, whether it's, being in the war, playing a sport, running, being with Jenny. There's always something that's on his mind.
For transparency, the scene Forrest displayed transparency the most was when Jenny was singing at the bar. Jenny and Forrest were arguing after the guy tried to grab her. Forrest tried to explain to Jenny that she deserved more respect than what she was getting during that scene, and he was explaining to her why she didn't deserve that kind of life. And then he told Jenny that he loved her. For transparency, motivation, there are several things that can motivate people from rewards to past success. Although Forrest was often made fun of growing up and was not the smartest, he remained motivated throughout his life, whether that was in war or in football or anything like that. He motivated others as well, even if he was not trying to do so. So just his character brought motivation to everybody else. His reason for his long run at the end was for no particular reason. He just decided to go for a run. And that's just how it shows how motivated he was to just go for a run and just clear his head and be motivated to do so. And his motivation behind his famous run was having no motivation, but the run motivated other people to do the same. So as other people seeing him running, they were just like, this guy's just crazy just doing it to run. But that's just who he was, and he just has a motivation in himself to do so. Continuing motivation, he had motivation to go back into the napalm to save Lieutenant Dan while in Vietnam, and he could have easily ran from the fight, but was motivated to run back in and save Bubba and fellow soldiers. Bubba's death motivated Forrest to start Bubba's Gum Shrimp business as well, out of respect for Bubba and his family. And that just shows that how even though in the toughest of times he was still able to have motivation and not back down, and it motivated him to even start his own company in memory of his friend that died in war, and just showed how motivated he was to do so for him and his family. Continuing motivation, he had motivation to go back into the napalm to save Lieutenant Dan while in Vietnam, and he could have easily ran from the fight, but was motivated to run back in and save Bubba and fellow soldiers. Bubba's death motivated Forrest to start Bubba's Gum Shrimp business as well, out of respect for Bubba and his family. And that just shows that how even though in the toughest of times he was still able to have motivation and not back down, and it motivated him to even start his own company in memory of his friend that died in war, and just showed how motivated he was to do so for him and his family.
In conclusion, Forrest displayed numerous characteristics of leadership as well as motivation throughout the movie. Forrest Gump led people, whether it had been in the war, leading citizens with his actions. Forrest was motivated in numerous ways as well. He was motivated to play football, be an amazing ping pong player. He was motivated to start a shrimp company as a result of Bubba and his friendship. And he was motivated to do numerous other things as well. Forrest left a significant impact on numerous people throughout his life, and he was just a caring person in general that always put other people for him.